Welcome. So it looks like you found the video of how to use this book, and we are so excited. So welcome to using the Atlas of Image-Guided Spinal Procedures, 2nd edition. As you may or may not be aware, we originally had the 1st edition, which was known as the Red Book. As you'll see, the content of this book is significantly increased. That's because we have added many diagrams, figures, and ultrasound content and other reference tables, etc. So we put a lot of time not only in improving on Atlas E1, the Red Book, but also by adding content to it. Hence, we say blue is the new red. I'd like to show you with this video how to use this atlas. You can read chapter 1, which summarizes what we're doing, but I'm going to invite you to come on in as I personally show you how to use this book that took us years to generate. A quick overview of it is, of course, here's the front. You can go on Expert Consult, which if you're watching this video, you've already figured out that there's video and other content on the Expert Consult. But I want to also point out is the side of the book has different colors, and I'm going to come back to this. This side of the book color helps you get easier access to the different sections that are in the table of contents. So you notice the colors go blue, olive, reddish, eventually green. That green, for example, is the cervical section. So when I go to the table of contents, that's cervical, and I can now go directly to cervical, open it up, and now I'm in the cervical section of the book. Now we're going to open the book up, as all books have. In the very beginning of the book, we actually have all of the anatomical terms and abbreviations used throughout the book. So if you ever see some initials and you don't know, they should be in each chapter, but if you ever wonder, you can always go to the beginning of the book and find them. Of course, we have all of our contributors that we truly appreciate, our reviewers. There's a foreword as written by D.J. Kennedy. There's a preface that I wrote, and there's acknowledgments. These are all the contributors and reviewers, and we're really proud that we were able to put them all in one picture. I will admit there was a little photoshopping for this picture. And there is a mystery question, is how many times can you find Shanak Patel in the picture? Of course, there's a bibliography, biography of me. And here's the table of contents. I want to remind you that the first section, the intro, is just some unique chapters about how to use this. I already told you about some needle techniques, etc. And you can look through and read the table of contents. We then go from the caudal sacral region all the way up to the neck, and then the spine masqueraders. So again, here's sacrococcygeal in that color with olive, lumbar sacral, which is an orangish red, a purple section on thoracolumbar, a bluish section on thoracic, a green section on cervical, and then we have spine pain masqueraders, mostly are the shoulder and hip regions. And then we have a new addition, which are the appendix, which has the spinal interventional reference tables and guidelines. And then we list all the video contents separately. So for example, here's number 1, how to use this atlas, which obviously you figured out how to find that because you're listening to me talking right now. And that's pretty much it. Again, here's chapter 1, how to use this atlas. I'm not going to spoon feed you that, but I am going to go through how to use this atlas by showing you a sample fluoroscopic chapter and a sample ultrasound chapter. So now we're going to turn to a typical fluoro chapter. So I'm now going to the lumbar, transforaminal epidural steroid injection, supraneural approach. Now, all chapters have a very brief intro. We use minimal text in this book. Our goal is to emphasize how to do the procedure. We actually say to people, I hope you looked at the book rather than read the book. This book has a lot of icons that help orient you for each chapter. So the first icon is the trajectory view icon. That means the needle view. You're shooting down the needle. So here's a fluoro picture of a trajectory view, and you're shooting down the needle. The needle is a green circle because you're shooting down it. You're looking down the hub, and that's what the icon is supposed to show you. These are the fluoro angles that we use to get to this view. Again, big picture. You have your fluoro picture with nothing drawn on it. To the right is the radio opaque, or what you see. And to your left, and underneath it on the left, is the radio lucent, or what you don't see but need to know, the safety considerations frequently. If it's a safety consideration, it's yellow. So here's what the fluoro is, here's what you see, here's what you don't see underneath it. Trajectory view, so the needle, we're shooting down the needle. This is a safety view, so this gives us some things we want to watch out for. This is instructions on how to get to that trajectory view. Our book is all about setup. Setup is key, and that's why the trajectory view is one of the most important views for almost every procedure. Then we do multiplanar imaging. So this is multiplanar imaging. I'm going to come back to that. Then we show you optimal imaging and later suboptimal imaging. So for multiplanar, in this procedure, multiplanar would be an AP and a lateral. Here's the AP, here's the lateral. For the AP, again, we do the same thing that we talked about earlier, where we have the fluoro, we have the what you see, what you don't see. Safety view, so it's yellow, safety considerations. Tells you what to avoid. This is a multiplanar icon that shows you we're in the multiplanar section of this procedure. These are the fluoro icons that tell you that this is an AP with no oblique and that the tilt. And so this second icon tells you how much tilt there is. In some of the chapters we show the wigwag, which I'm not describing right now, but you can read about that as you go through the book. Here's a lateral view. Here's the fluoro icon that shows it's a lateral. It says lateral. It's also a multiplanar view. Again, there's a safety consideration, so we have a safety icon as well, and safety considerations. These are all optimal images. These are the kind of dye patterns we suggest you're looking for. And we have these all listed and why they're optimal images. Next, we will show you suboptimal images. That's the icon for suboptimal. This tells you why it's suboptimal, and if you could change a suboptimal to an optimal, it tells you how to do so, and it tells you the difference between the suboptimal and optimal image. Here's some more suboptimals. More suboptimals. At the end of the chapter, there's a list of videos that go with this chapter, which would be on Expert Console, and a reference list. And that is a typical fluoro procedure. On the back of the book, we now have added spine masqueraders. So we have the back end of the hip fluoro chapter, but right after that is a hip ultrasound chapter. Our goals when we produce ultrasound is to go a little differently than most other ultrasound books. We want this ultrasound chapter to have the same feel, taste, just the same voice as our fluoro chapters. So if you look at this, it should be easily comfortable as you get right into the chapter. There's different icons. This shows that we're using a curvilinear probe. This is in plane, out of plane, and again, safety view, optimal, suboptimal. Similar icons. So here we go. This is a typical ultrasound chapter. When you open it up, we purposely put the room layout. So from far away, you know how it was set up. And over to the right, it shows how the ultrasound transducer was placed on the patient to get to this view. So again, the room setup, that's from far away, and this tells you, because it's hard in this picture to see where the hands are, that's why we put that picture there. That shows the needle in plane. Here's the ultrasound picture. There's the needle, and the needle is green again. In all chapters in this book, the needle is green. We don't mark needle. You'll know it's green. If it's a line, you're seeing the needle. If it's a dot, you're shooting down the needle. So right here, the needle is going in. Now, a typical ultrasound, because of the shape of the curvilinear ultrasound beam, we drew here what you're looking at up above. You'll see a yellow dotted dashed line, which shows what part is here and what, so we're drawing more, but what the ultrasound shows is what's in the yellow beam. And for all of these ultrasound chapters, we put a purple dot on the top left, and it also shows you where the purple dot is on the transducer. Again, just like in the other chapters, here's a multiplanar view. This shows you the icon of a curvilinear probe in plane. A safety view icon, it tells you why it's safety, and these are the safety considerations. Because it's multiplanar, in this particular case, we do show an out-of-plane confirmation. Notice the autoplane icon. Here's the picture, and here's the drawing that goes with it. As in fluoro, we have some optimal pictures and tells you why they're optimal, with an optimal icon showing you this is in plane. And here's a suboptimal page showing suboptimal icon, showing you this is in plane and in plane. And that is really an overview of how to use this book, both the fluoro and the ultrasound chapters. I suggest you look through the table of contents because we do have different things that you may not be aware of had you not thumbed through just the simple table of contents. For example, 15E is a total chapter devoted to facet joint innervation anatomy, dissections, and lesion joint diagrams. Likewise, 30H is the same thing in the cervical region, and we have one in the thoracic region. I'm going to now flip to another chapter I want to show you that's new. Chapter 13D shows you needle localization diagrams that are really helpful, that compare where your needle would be in a 3D image if you had this AP, this lateral, and then putting them together where your needle should be in an axial calculated view. And then we show different errors and things, positions people are in that are suboptimal, and we talk about how to fix them. So for example, this needle here on the AP was a little too far lateral, yet it was too ventral on the lateral, and this is where it would be calculated to be. And there are other examples here in that same chapter. We're really excited to show you how we've made new chapters for lumbar, thoracic, and cervical joint, Z-joint innervation, anatomy, dissections, and lesion zone diagrams. This was very similar to what we had in E1. Goes nicely through the anatomy and shows red where you'd want to block or lesion the facet joint nerves. We also have some wonderful cadaveric specimens that were dissected out and showed the nerves, and I want you to just look at these pictures. And that goes on with, we took fluoro images with needles in place on the cadavers, and that's in the chapter. And what's even cooler is we have simulated in pink the lesion zones where you'd like to have your needles or radiofrequency electrodes shown in AP, lateral, and oblique, and it shows you exactly what your final needle position should look like in a 3D model. We do similar drawings and diagrams for cervical. Okay. We again show you the same thing in chapter 30H, where we have cervical Z-joint innervation, anatomy, dissections, and lesion joint diagrams. This diagram is very similar to what we had in E1. But we also add the cadaver dissections with fluoro anatomy of that. And we also have the lesion zones in pink, and shows you in AP, lateral, and oblique your final needle positions and how you would get them so you can get a good lesion for your radiofrequency. We actually take these drawings or diagrams, we print them up and put them on the wall of our procedure suite since we reference them so often. So I just want to make sure that you, readers, are aware of all these wonderful tools available in our atlas. We hope that you'll find this as easy to use as we are trying to make it, and we're so excited that you bought it, and we'd love to get some feedback. If you want to tell me how to improve it, you can send me an email at furmanspineatlas@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and enjoy the book.